Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to another Facebook Live over here at the Houston Zoo. Guess what? Today we are going to have a birthday celebration. And it's kind of funny because, we're at the Houston Zoo Centennial, so, we're 100 years old. But let's celebrate one of our family members that's turning 1 year old today. And her name is Sriracha. And she is our female ocelot. And we're going to be giving her a little birthday party today with some birthday cake and some of her favorite enrichment items. And so today we'll be talking all about Sriracha and seeing her interact with some of the cool stuff that we like to give her. And so we're going to go ahead and let her come out of her bedroom so that she can enjoy her birthday party. So I'll go ahead and point out some of the things today that we have for Sriracha. So you can see Sriracha just now coming out, super fast cat. Ocelots are actually native here to the United States, specifically in Arizona and Texas, but they can be found all the way down to the southern part of South America, like Argentina. So this is a wild cat that is super excited to get some of her food right now, and so we're going to get ourselves into a position so that she can go over there and enjoy her food. So as I mentioned, Sriracha is turning 1 year old, and she actually technically will be turning 1 in a few days. So Sunday is her actual birthday, so May 29th. Well, we figured we'd go ahead and offer her something a little bit early today. So we had some ice pops and some feathers from some of the animals here at the zoo. And we'll hopefully be able to let her know that she's got some food over here. So I think she's going to start making her way over. So ocelots are known to be this kind of uniquely spotted cat. What's one of the biggest things that you can tell them apart from other cats that you might see here in the United States is that, or some of the other smaller wild cats, is that they have those rounded ears, and then you can see some of those stripes on the back of her neck. So now Sriracha's investigating from up high, and right now she's checking out one of the feathers. So as I mentioned, feathers are probably one of her favorite enrichment items, and enrichment is something that provides any kind of stimulus that these animals would be doing out in the wild. So for an animal like this that likes to hunt not only rabbits and small rodents, they also like to catch birds. So Sriracha right now, always, anytime she gets a feather, she tries to chew on it and play with it. And so these animals are really great at being up in the trees. In fact, one of their cool abilities is that they can rotate their wrists so that they can run up and down trees with no problem whatsoever. And so as she starts thinking about working her way down, checking out her cute little banner, hopefully she'll notice some of the tasty treats that she has. So as I mentioned, she's got a birthday cake. That birthday cake is a really big ice pop. I'm sure some of you really enjoy having your own cakes as well, but you may not be so interested in Sriracha's cake because it's made out of fish. And not only fish, but it's also got some goat's milk in there. So at the core of her icy pop, to help keep her cool, she'll eventually be able to get to her tasty fish, and there she goes, starting to lick on the ice pop. So the top part's got that goat's milk, so she's really enjoying that. If she gets bored with it though, there's those feathers. You can see how engaged she is with those things, and this is something that we really like to see. Something that they would do naturally out in the wild is interact with their environment and investigate items like feathers. And so you can see her tail's twitching here and there. She is focused and she's ready to go. And these cats she's almost fully grown. So right now she weighs close to about 20 pounds, but they can get up to about 30 pounds. And it's really cool. So if you come and visit the zoo, or if you've been to the zoo before, you've probably seen Sriracha's mom and dad. Sriracha's mom and dad are G and Jack. So G is actually right next door to Sriracha's habitat. And so you can see her. And G's actually pretty big in size. She's probably about twice the size of Sriracha. And she weighs right around 29 pounds. So if you get to come down to the zoo and take a look at these two, you can make that comparison. Versus Jack, who's the oldest of our ocelots. So the dad, Jack, he's at 19 years old. Typically, in the wild, these animals might live into their early teens. But in a zoo setting, you know, these animals can live well past that. And here we have Sriracha interacting with her next enrichment item, which is one of her favorite toys. So this little donut looking thing's got not only food in there, but it's also got a ball in there. She always likes playing with that. So you can see this is a great activity for this animal to kind of think outside the box, not just kind of focus with her eyes and see there's the food and then grab a hold of it with her mouth. She actually has to use her limbs and those sharp little claws that are retractable in order to kind of pull that food out. So it's got little chunk meat in there, so she's getting her little paw in there and trying to pull it out. And I will say, mice is probably her most favorite thing to have. Not necessarily always to eat, but to play with. So as we've seen Sriracha get older, when we first started giving her mice, she would just bat it around and play with it and just kind of get used to it. And when she was with mom, you know, mom would eat a little bit of it and then she would offer it up to Sriracha. And so as Sriracha's gotten older, one of the funniest things to see is if she ever gets her mice out on her habitat, most of the time she'll go and take it into one of her like water areas, like her big pool, and she loves to just fling that piece of food around before she eats it. So it's a great way to kind of see her kind of getting her hunting skills going and interacting with that. And so we're so happy that you guys are here with us to celebrate Sriracha's first birthday. And again, she's going to be turning technically 1 this Sunday, so May 29th. But to help celebrate not only Sriracha's birthday, but also the zoo's birthday, we are doing Centennial Saturdays. So every month, the first Saturday of every month, we're going to be doing something special here at the zoo. So if you're able to come down to the zoo and hang out with us, we are going to have some special activities every first Saturday to help celebrate these Centennial Saturdays. So what better way than to kick it off with one of our youngest family members here at the zoo, Sriracha, who's chowing down on some chunk meat right now. So normally these animals are pretty reclusive and shy. As I mentioned, they are found here in Texas. Unfortunately though, these animals, there are less than 100 individuals here in Texas. Luckily though, through a lot of conservation efforts, these animals are protected. All the way down in Brownsville, there is a wildlife refuge that helps to protect these animals, as well as ranch lands that are helping to protect this endangered species, so that we can see future ocelots make their way back into places that they used to be in, which was in more places in Texas, but also in places like Arkansas and Louisiana. And so I'm hearing some people saying happy birthday to Sriracha. And hey, if you want to, go ahead and send us a comment saying happy birthday. I would sing happy birthday, but I don't want to make my singing debut right here on Facebook Live today. But yeah, these animals, even though there are not so many here, we are doing our best, and you guys can do your best to help save these animals out in the wild. And one of the biggest ways is by, looking to reduce paper and replanting trees. These animals typically hide in really thick bushes and places where it's really hard to get to. Unfortunately, due to urbanization and roads being built and farmlands being kind of built up, these animals have less places to hide and less places to meet one another in order to come together to breed. So, by replanting these trees, we can help save these animals out in the wild. And so we've got a question from Liz. Hey Liz, how you doing? Thank you for your question, which was to ask whether she prefers to eat in private. You know, an animal that is solitary most times would probably want to eat in private. So you saw when she went and grabbed that mouse, she kind of hid somewhere. Well, she got some really big prize, and so she wanted to kind of eat it a little bit in private. However, with the work that I think she had a mosquito on her. She's got a little itch going on. With the relationship that we build with our animals, these animals like Sriracha do get pretty comfortable eating around us, but it is pretty common to see a lot of cats tend to go and take their food and eat it somewhere else. That way they don't have something else looking at that and maybe considering that that might be competition, that some other cat or somebody else wants their food. So they typically would take it somewhere else. And as I mentioned before, they like to be up in high places. So for an animal like this, if they were to take down, say, a mouse or a rat, they would very likely take it up into the trees where they can eat it in private and not have any other concerns, because they're up in the tree where no one else can really see them. And so that feather that she was just interacting with is one of the many feathers that we have here for all of our cats. So it is an enrichment item, and we have some of our vultures who sometimes will molt some of those feathers, and so we make sure that they are nice and clean before we offer it up to some of our cats, which really enjoy interacting with feathers and chewing on them. If you guys have pets at home, or if you have cats and you guys have teaser toys that have feathers on it, hey, guess what? You're doing some of the same stuff that we do here in a zoo setting when it comes to enriching the lives of our animals. And so feathers is one of our favorite items to interact with. Hey Mary, so I see that you have a question about how vocal these animals are. So right now you might be hearing a little bit of a meow going on, and we're over here on the small cat row where you see a lot of smaller looking cats, and right next door to Sriracha are her roommates, Turok and Suksan, who are clouded leopards. And Turok is the one who's letting it be known that he wants some of that birthday cake. And we do actually have, as today's enrichment activity for all of our cats in the department, to give ice pops. Ice pops is not only a great birthday cake for Sriracha here, but it's a great way for our animals to help cool down as well. And today is a pretty nice day, so we're not really feeling the heat. But on some days where it's getting a little bit warmer, some of these animals do enjoy licking these ice pops that we'll give them. And so Turok's got one. He just needs to know that it's not necessarily always about him, and that his turn will come. But anytime we do offer Sriracha food, or G or Jack, these are some of the most grumbly cats. They just seem to be very talkative when they're eating. So you'll hear them go nom 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 nom. They're a little bit of a growler when they're eating. So they do make some vocalizations. Now when they come up together to breed, when a male and female who typically they don't share the same space, they just kind of, you know, come together only to breed, they will vocalize to each other, and it's a big yowl. It sounds kind of disturbing at times, especially for coming from G, our female. She makes more of a deeper growl than Jack does, so it's pretty cool to see. And sometimes we hear some meows. We've heard some meows from Sriracha, but we hear that typical grumbly noise whenever she's eating for sure. So we have another question coming in that is from Rachel. Hey Rachel, how's it going? And she asked, what is her favorite enrichment item? So today we have, I want to say, some of her top 3 favorite enrichment items. We've got her feathers, which is probably number 1. Number 2 is going to be this donut looking enrichment item that's got a little ball in the middle of it. It's called like a cat track ball. So she loves kind of sticking her paws in there and kind of interacting with it so that she can retrieve out whatever's in there. Most of the time we put her mice in there, and I would say her mouse is, even though it's a food item, it's probably one of her favorite things to interact with. I think she gets most of her hunting skills right now from playing with that mouse. Oftentimes in the mornings, she'll actually take her mouse and fling it across her habitat and then go running right after it It's pretty adorable. So once again, for you guys that are hanging out with us on Facebook Live, we are celebrating Sriracha's first birthday, and we're so glad that you guys can be here with us today. Technically, Sriracha's birthday will be on May 29th, which is this Sunday, but we figured we'd go ahead and do a little bit of an early celebration and offering her stuff. And so you're seeing Sriracha right now checking out the rest of her habitat. She's making sure if she got all of her birthday presents. So she's exploring her habitat right now. And these animals do explore their habitat, not only utilizing their sense of smell, but a lot of what they do is oftentimes through visual. So they have really keen eyesight. So right now she's surveying the area, checking out everything, smelling all the different things that might be out. So we had to actually put all this stuff out here before she came out, so we don't share the same space with her, to ensure that we have that safety element there. So she probably smells our footprints from where we were walking. And so Sriracha, being 1 year old, she's right about that age where she is her independent self, and she wouldn't be with mom anymore. So she's finding her own space to be in the natural world if she were out in the wild. And these animals like to occupy really thick brushes and heavily dense forested areas where this animal can kind of be nice and reclusive. And they like to be up in the trees. They're very adept at being at trees, although right now you can see she's still working on that ability to stay stable on those branches. But she's like, whoa, what was that? But they do have that ability to rotate their ankles, so they're really good at actually running up and down trees. And so you can see she was nomming on her feathers. We had peacock feathers. We've got vulture feathers. I think the thicker they are, the more she likes to kind of crunch on them. And so this is really great behavior that we're seeing from Sriracha, as she would naturally do if she were to catch a bird. She'd catch it, take it up to somewhere where it feels a little bit more like she doesn't have to be disturbed if she's on the ground, and she'll chew on whatever she's got a hold of. And you can see now she kind of gets into that like shaded area. You can see where that kind of unique looking spots that these animals have could make really great camouflage, especially if you go into some of the patchy areas of sunlight. This animal has this really great ability to camouflage themselves, even though they might stick out for us right now, because we can see here, if you were walking along a path and you were so lucky to spot a ocelot, they will easily spot you before you spot them. But this animal has really great camouflage. One of the ways that they are different from other animals, say like bobcats, these animals have these kind of stripes that you can see along her neck, as well as they have that rounded ear that are indicative of ocelots. And I'll give you one of my cool facts for the day. So this is technically the third largest cat that we have here in the United States. And so our number one large cat is the jaguar, which we're so happy to be hearing more about. Two jaguars that are starting to reemerge and find their space in places like Arizona. So we have two individuals that are currently being tracked. These animals used to occupy more of the United States in places like Arizona and New Mexico. And so it's really great now to see that reemergence of that cat thinking about, trying to reestablish itself here. And that is due to the conservation efforts that a lot of facilities and organizations that want to see these animals live for future generations and for future generations of people to see and be able to coexist with. And then the second largest cat here in the United States is the cougar. So go Cougs. For those of us who are from Houston that went to the University of Houston, cougars are the second largest cat that we have here. And then of course followed by this 20-pound individual, the ocelot, which these animals can get up to 35 pounds, 30 pounds. So our biggest representative is Sriracha's mom, G. So we hope to see you guys here for some of our Centennial Saturdays, which will be always on the first Saturday of the month. And we just want to say thank you for tuning in to celebrate Sriracha's birthday. Tune in again next Wednesday at 11 for our next Facebook Live. Have a good one, guys.